Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Meatbag 2018 video game review. Dun, 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 dun. I should put a soundtrack in this. I probably will forget to do it. I probably won't do it because it'll be really cheesy. But
Nah, do it.
we have to. Did you tell me to do it or not?
No, do it. Do it.
Don't tell
Do
me.
it, do it, do it, do it, do it.
You're peer pressuring
Do
me.
it,
You
fam,
know
do it.
I can't deal with peer pressure.
Now, if you don't do it,
I
you're gonna look like a
crumble.
lame lord.
Lame lord. I love the alliteration. of
You're
that.
welcome. You're welcome. It's what I bring.
So, as you guys know, I'm Akil, and we have.
Charlie,
Oh my
Big-
god, he got it this time.
big boy Don fan.
Big boy done, fam.
That's all I've got.
So yeah, we're gonna go over some of the things we played this year, some of the things that we didn't get the chance to play this year, but probably will in like cram it in the Christmas period, maybe.
Hmm.
And we're just gonna give our general opinions of this year as well as what we're hoping to play next year.
Yeah.
So let's begin. Where do you want to start, Charlie? Let's go from like the months of the year. So January, what came out? February, March. So the first period of the year, what did you play?
I can't remember. I'm gonna have to
What can
pull
you
it up.
remember?
I'm gonna have to pull it up because I am woefully unprepared and have no idea. You start.
All right. If I can remember properly, January to March, I think one of the first things I played this year was Monster Hunter World.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I remember that was it February or March?
It's super early. I remember it being super early.
It might have been March. I think it might have been March. Let me check. Looking around here, and yeah, it was January. It was really early.
Yeah, well, I remember it coming out
And-
in that period where like we're starting to see more and more games come out.
Yeah. And it was a humongous start to the year because it came out and this game had such good marketing to it and it hit the exact right moment where everybody just jumped onto it. And I've been a Monster Hunter fan since I want to say 2008 on the PSP. 2008, 2007 or 6, something like that. And it was this year sort of marked the year where Capcom has done a 180 from the stupid either their policies or just the things they did in their games recently. They've sort of done a 180 this year and they've been doing really great things. And Monster Hunter World was the beginning. No, I'd say maybe Resident Evil 7 was the beginning of that.
Yeah, probably.
And it was very well received. And then they started to fix Street Fighter 5. Then they brought out Monster Hunter World, and this game was like, if you've played a previous Monster Hunter game, you'd know that it's a type of game that revels in the fact that it's archaic in ways. Like the whole control scheme, the way that it does a lot of things, and goes, hey, if you want to take this potion, you have to go through the whole animation, and item management is sort of a bitch, but that's part of the point. But with this game, it goes, no, we're gonna fix all the problems. We're gonna do it all at once. We're gonna introduce actual voice acting with an actual story. We're gonna update the engine that we've been using since 2006 finally. We're gonna put on consoles so that people could play it on consoles for once and actually push it in the West. And it's like all these things we were telling Capcom to do over the years and did it all at once. And did it all at once with the game that broke through. And it's like, Jesus Christ. It did extremely well. And a lot of people after this game, me included, was like, this has game of the year potential.
Yeah, it exploded outwards. Like, it's been one of those series where it's like bubbled under the surface for such a long time, and like dedicated people who are super into it have always like sung its praises and spoken of how good it was. And I think it's always been ones where like word of mouth has never been strong enough for it to explode fully outwards, but you've had like a core group of people. But this year it hit. And again, it was in that early block where not much is coming out yet. Like, we're starting to see more and more games come out in that, but very early, like January, super early, and it just caught, and everyone got it, and it like caught like wildfire and spread to people who I know who aren't really into those type of games at all, aren't even into Japanese games at all, were like obsessed with it for months on end. It proper spread and made that series go for something that was a hardcore to something that was very like widespread popular.
Yeah, it was insane. I can't think of a recent example of something that's done that like that.
Mm.
A lot of people would say the Souls games, but that was more of a steady progression where IGN published an article about, oh, it's actually really good with Demon Souls, and then, the core group of people just gradually expanded.
Yeah.
Maybe The Witcher 3.
Probably.
Maybe The Witcher 3.
I think The Witcher 3 had like a weird amount of hype going into it as well, whereas this seemed to just sort of happen all of a sudden. It was weird, like, because Witcher 3 had like a huge marketing thing going on, and like you had like the E3 demonstrations with like the dragon and all that stuff, whereas this was literally like Monster Hunter came out, and then it seemed like a week later everyone was playing Monster Hunter all of a sudden.
Yeah. I think a big reason was E3, in which they showed it off. It impressed a lot of people. It just impressed a lot. It was like a dark horse of that E3 where not many people talked about it, but everybody who saw it was like, "Oh, this is good.
Yeah,
this is really good. This is really good." And it makes me really want to see a new Dragon's Dogma from them. Honestly, that's another game from last year that I really liked from Capcom that I want to see come back.
Will we ever see one? I doubt it, right?
We might. Honestly, Capcom have, as I said, this year was also Mega Man 11.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get Onimusha remaster finally, and we're gonna get Resident Evil. I'm jumping the gun, but
no,
Capcom,
but we're gonna get a Resident Evil 2. We're gonna get an actual Devil May Cry that people
Devil May Cry 5. It's like
that people that aren't me want. You know what I mean? It's gonna be. It's a big thing at the moment.
And I don't know any other developers that have had such a resurgence this year other than Capcom.
I'm trying to think of one, and I can't. Not on the same scale, at least. Not on the same scale. Not on the same scale. They've had it's been a huge turnaround. Like, there's been people who've done a bit here and a bit there, but they've like seemed to be going back to their best. Seem to be putting their best foot forward finally.
And for the developer who, in my opinion, probably has the greatest video game library, like the amount of franchises they have underneath them.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody could compare. No one could compare to Capcom. They have so many games you could say are the king of that particular genre, or is so heavily beloved, and it's insane to see that Capcom has finally come back after last gen, where they sort of fell off of the train. The gen before that, they were doing great, but I think for a lot of, not just Capcom, but a lot of Japanese devs in general, last gen was terrible for them.
Yeah, it was. We've had this conversation many times. It really was. It was one where it felt like they tried to chase market forces which were determining that Western games were the thing, instead of actually just championing their own thing. And I think the ones that did do their own thing were the ones that came out the best from that. And now we're in a situation where I feel like it's gone the other way. People have realized that actually it just makes, like, stick to your thing, but do it good enough and people will take interest. And that's what Monster Hunter like represented to me, was them just like continuing to do their thing and then doing it but exquisitely, and everyone jumped on it because of that, not because it felt like Destiny or Call of Duty or whatever crap Western game we're talking about. Like, it's because they did their own thing, but they did it really well that everyone was interested in it.
And the fan base that was already there just invited people in and was like, yeah, this is what I was talking about. It's a sort of, it's different to Dark Souls in that way, I think, where Dark Souls feels really in your face. It's difficult, and you have to play through this to prove yourself. This one just feels more like people genuinely wanting to play this.
Yeah.
Next up, we had Subnautica. Did you play this?
No.
That came out this January.
It did. It came out early.
It's really good. Well, it was in beta before then, but
yeah,
I really like Subnautica.
I don't know much about it. I've seen it exist. I know it's the latest in that sort of evolution of the Minecraft formula, of like
somewhat
existing in a survival-based world without much. It's a son or daughter of like Minecraft and Daisy and all that sort of like survival-based stuff as opposed to building.
I just really enjoy the idea of, them going, hey, instead of us going to the stars, let's just go underwater and make things interesting that way. And I played it for a bit of time. I might go back to it at some point, but yeah, that was probably the best PC release this year, I think, was probably Surviving Mars.
I was gonna be.
I have 100 and something hours in that game.
You went mad on that one.
I love Surviving Mars. Like, I booted up again recently because they had a what was it? They had an expansion pack that came out recently.
Hmm.
And like I booted it back up. They have some new radio stations you can listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds really simplistic, but you don't understand how enjoyable it is just listening to Mars radio while just making sure my calling doesn't go to shit.
It's one of those small things that games. It's like it's a small thing that games when they do it like are much better for it. Just little touches are what make stuff super enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? Like GTA would be the same game, like would be just
Without
as
the
successful
radio.
without the radio stations. But like, oh my god, did
And
they make it
Laszlo.
so much better?
I think Laszlo's the best type of radio in that game.
Oh, what in 5 specifically?
All of
Or
them.
all of
Because
them,
he
all
appears
of them.
I think he appears since 3. He's just an
It's
idiot.
just a scumbag, bro.
Yeah. He's just biggest scumbag.
But it's like it's the little
But-
things. It's the little things that make something great.
And then like you could zoom in onto a particular person in your colony just doing their daily work and just follow them.
Mm.
And you can turn off the UI and just be like, oh, this is what you do.
Mm.
You just go to work and then go to the bar and then go to bed. That's depressing. But it's still even on Mars this happened. But it's actually fun to watch. And it sort of has that appeal that The Sims has for me, where it's like I only get with PC games, where I
Yeah.
just sort of pick them up, and it's like today I'm gonna be very unhygienic. I'm not gonna take a bath. I'm not gonna brush my teeth, but I'm gonna play this for the whole day. And like you wake up and you play for a whole day and you go out to sleep, and then you burn yourself out on it. But it's like the good type of burning yourself out.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same feeling I get with like a Pez, where I'm just like, this is what I'm doing today. I'm just settling in. I'm playing my Master League, and everyone else can leave me alone. It's that same feeling.
It brings me back to my youth a bit. I say youth. I'm only 24.
Brings you back to your young years.
My younger years. And the music part, I think, is probably the big thing that gets me into those a lot.
Mm.
Also in January, we had Dragon Ball Fighters.
Which
Which-
like finally they were like, oh let's make a good Dragon Ball Z game, guys. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, should we do that for a bit? Let's do that.
Well, they had one good one with Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
that was
I
still
like
weird
that
to
game.
me. It's still
Really?
yeah. I don't know why. I just looked.
I've wanted to be a Saiyan since I was a child, and I could make my own
Yeah, alright, sure.
and put all types of accessories on him
Mm.
and pose him. It's great. But Fighters felt like, well, it's made by the same guys that do the Guilty Gear games.
Yeah.
So, and they recently made games where it's like, it's 3D, but it's 2D.
Mm.
It completely realizes the 2D art style. And it's like, if you didn't know as much, you'd sort of look at it and go, wait, that's 3D?
Mm.
Like, I don't think any other developer has achieved that, other than guys who do stuff like, they do 2D stylized 3D models, like on whatchamacallit, Octopath Traveler, which also came out this year.
Yeah.
I think the actual character models in that are meant to be 3D, like they're just 3D blocks stylized in a way where it's like they look like, static sprites. I
Mm.
could be wrong there, but that's another example of them really experimenting with the whole 2D to 3D transition. And there's another fun thing I want to say that I sort of realized with that game too. The artist of Dragon Ball Z, Akira Toriyama, has a very particular art style, and his art style people have tried to replicate it many times in gaming. And this year we've had two that have realized in very different ways that both look unbelievably good.
Mm.
The first one was Dragon Ball Fighters, and the second one was Dragon Quest XI.
Yeah.
And well, that was a very good game. I'll get into that game later on, but what did you play in the first portions of the month?
Of like Pez. Like a lot of
Oh,
Pez.
Evolutions.
Like you can ask me the same question for most months, and the answer is usually Pez. Like
Okay, what's your secondary game?
the later months have been covered by some other stuff, but almost solely Pez. Lots of Pez. Sometimes a bit of Fortnite, but mostly Pez.
Oh yeah, you were on the Fortnite train. I was never on that train.
I'm still on it
When
now,
did that,
to an extent.
when did that come out? Was that
late
early this
late
year?
2017. I want to say like.
What counter is this
My
year?
brain says
It-
like my brain says like September, but I could be wrong about that.
What counter is this year? What are your thoughts on Fortnite?
It's really good. The formula's been there for ages. Like that formula's always been there of the battle royale thing, and it was just waiting for someone to come along and we got two in very very quick succession to just capitalize on it fully, being PUBG and Fortnite. And I think early on, like the reason that I've sort of gone slightly further away from it now, because I don't like games as service anyway, and I don't care enough to I've still not spent any money on Fortnite. I never will spend any money on Fortnite. Like the amount of times I speak to like friends I know who have like brothers and sisters or whatever who are like 14, 15, and they're like, oh my god, have you got any cool skins on Fortnite? And I'm like, no. I'm gonna go and hide in a bush and then just let you lot like fight it out, and then I'll get the win at the end. But the reason I think is the meta has changed significantly, and when it first came out, everyone was still playing it a bit like PUBG, in that it was mostly like shooting and the building stuff was like a nice little cool thing that happened in the background that wasn't so important. Whereas now it's gone the exact opposite way. You play any game now, and the second a gunshot's heard, all of a sudden people are building up as fast as they humanly can just to like get
ants.
to some sort of it really is like that. And as someone who again doesn't do that and just sits and watches, it's quite funny to just one shot goes off and then all of a sudden just towers appear everywhere because everyone's scared out of their skin. But it's a very very good game, and it does the battle and its lasting popularity is testament to how well it's been developed over time. And they've obviously had a step up on PUBG in that the game has existed for a long time before the battle royale bit ever came out, and so they already had a solid base to build something off. But the way they've changed it, the way the seasons have worked, given like both new items and new skins and new weapons and all that stuff, but then also the way the world has changed and the storytelling within the world itself, I think is testament to how good that game actually is and how well they've developed it. And I think they should take huge credit for that, because it is kind of amazing how like I can think now, and the world is completely different to what it used to look like. The world is completely separate. There are maybe one or two towns which haven't been touched, but apart from that, it's completely different. And every time I seem to play it, I play it maybe once every couple of weeks now. Every time I seem to play it, something else seems to have happened. So it's very good. It's very good, and it deserves all the credit and success it's had, because they've done an incredible job keeping something that basic so fresh without changing the core mechanics at all. Like they are exactly the same, but the way the meta has changed and the way they've developed it has meant that. So fair play to them.
You seem really taken by it.
Oh, it's great.
Would you say?
I don't like online games, and it's one of the few online games I actually enjoy.
Would you say this has taken your because normally people would say I play one fighting game, you know? Would you say that this is sort of taken the place of your, well, it's not a fighting game, but the game where it's like you keep coming back to, and you're more interested in the meta, as you said, than
Online wise, it's between that and Overwatch. They're the two.
Oh, I still like Overwatch, but I haven't played it in a while. I agree with you for Overwatch completely.
They're the two online games I'll actually sit down and enjoy playing. I very rarely by myself, but I still will sit down and enjoy playing. If you're talking about games I just come back to all the time, it's Pez.
You've been on a Pez.
Pez is good.
Dispensary.
It's Pez.
Oh,
nice, good. That was good. It was good. But yeah, no, Fortnite was great. Fortnite and continues to be great. And the fact that it's just so horrendously popular is still slightly I'm still in slight disbelief about it, but it is. And so yeah. And if you ever get killed by someone hiding in a bush while you think you're sick, building your little buildings, sorry, my bad. I'm just that damn good. Anyway.
What's your bush tag name? Bush
strats, bro. This is what you do. Bush strats, right? Or also known, but they're called bush strats, or you could call them. What's that guy's name? Oh, how have I forgotten it? The one time I need to remember. What's that guy's name? The one who does like documentaries about living in the jungle and all that.
Not Alan Partridge.
No, not Alan Partridge.
I know who you're talking about. He does the recent one called, it's not called Eden, it's called something else.
I can't remember. This is the strat, right? This is the strat, right? There's several strats, but this is This is Charlie Tech. This is what you do. You land as fast as you humanly can, right? You go to a place as far away from the bus's path as possible, and you land as quickly as you can. If anyone lands near you, you go straight for them. You pick up the first gun. It doesn't matter if it's a grey pistol. You head straight for those people, and you get the jump on them, and you take them out. That way you're safe. And from that moment onwards, you hide, my friend. You circle straight your way to the end. You stay on the very edge of the circle, going from bush to bush. If you find a bush, one of the consumable bushes, what you do is you consume that bush so you become a bush, and then hide in a bush for what I like to call double bush, right? And then you hide in it, and even if people come near you and you're like, you have the urge to shoot, do not shoot. Never shoot. Ideally, the perfect game of Fortnite is you don't fire a shot until the last person is alive. That's the only time you want to be shooting. And even then, sometimes you want to just wait a little bit. You want to just wait just a tiny little bit. Just give it a little bit of time. And you just keep hiding from bush to bush. You circle straight your way in, just slowly going in, slowly going in. Observe everyone, building their buildings, jumping around, having fun. Oh, I'm enjoying the game. No, I'm here for victories and victories only. Yeah, and then it gets down to the last person you kill them, you win. They're really annoyed. You have one kill. I've had a game before where I've literally shot once and killed the last person with the first shot I've taken, and that was my favorite game I've ever had. One shot with a sniper, bang, bang, win. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
The way you explain it makes it sound so scumbaggy.
It's the most scumbaggy. I don't care what you say, bro.
Of scumbaggy.
Here's the thing: people will mock me for it and say, you're so boring." Yeah, but who gets the wins? I get the wins. So I don't care what your opinion is, because I'm out here with mad W's, bro. I've got more wins than anyone else I know. Do you know why? Because I will scumbag my way to that victory, bro. Them W's, just hand them to me now, because I will happily scumbag my way there. No, not a single moment of doubt in my mind.
Charlie's. This is your vice. It brings out the inner scumbag.
I play with other people.
Like Toby's in like position 2, Fortnite's position 1 when it comes to bringing out your scumbag.
Bruv, I don't think I will play with like 3 or 4. Like I'll play with 3 other people, and they'll be running about shooting things. Nah, I'm here in the bush, surviving, living. Yeah, war isn't about who gets the most kills. It's about who's alive at the end. And who's the one who's alive at the end? This guy.
Do you play Metal Gear the same way with boxes?
I play everything the same way. I'm 100% scumbaggery. I will hide it. That's one of the reasons I enjoyed Assassin's Creed so much. There's just bushes everywhere.
I love the bushes.
I can just sit. I can just hide in the bushes.
We'll get onto Assassin's Creed later on, but in February we also have Kingdom Come Deliverance.
You loved that.
Which is a game I played, and I really do like it.
You went in on it.
It brings the whole, hey, it's realistic, and makes that the whole game. It's realistic. I'm like, you play a peasant. It's great. You don't play a prince or an overpowered knight. You're just a peasant, and you can get killed really easily, and you have to eat and sleep. And I forgot his name, but he's the most average-looking person ever. Do you know how satisfying it is just to play an average-looking guy with an average voice? He doesn't sound like a professional voice-acted voice. It feels like if I was to go into a pub and meet someone, like you just take that guy and put him into the game and you have it. It's great.
I feel like your experience with that game is very much what I loved about DayZ, which was just feeling like you're literally no one. You're just some random guy. You're just trying to survive, but you're probably not gonna. Just deal with it. I love that. I feel like that's a very similar thing is what you're describing there.
Like you try to use a bow and arrow at first, and you just shit. There's no auto aiming. You just shit. He wobbles everywhere. You try to hunt a rabbit. You're gonna fail every time. And then slowly over time, no big jumps, just slowly over time, you get a bit better until you're somewhat adequate. It's great. Same with sword fighting, you're just flailing around, and over time you're like, yeah, I can survive this maybe. If I play my part, but if there's 2 people, I'm fucked. I'd have to run. If there's any more than 1 person, it's over. I just have to run.
See, now what you're describing
and
is
even
me
if I run,
If there's more than one
It's
person,
great.
it's done. I can't. I'm not
It's
winning. I'm not winning. So what you do is you run. You run or
if I
you don't
run,
engage.
if I run and my horse is not around, I'm dead. Just as simple as I'm dead. It's great. It's great. You can just sneak around enemy encampments at night and just pick them off. If anyone wake up and come after you like two at a time, I just fucking run. There's no point, just run. It's great. I enjoy it a lot.
No, you went. I remember you went super into that game.
I did. The thing is that as time goes on, though, you start becoming powerful, and I started to lose interest because it's like I miss that feeling of being average.
Mm.
It's fun though. I'll definitely revisit it.
It reminds me a lot of like in sort of aesthetic and sort of like unnecessary like complexness. It reminded me a lot of Mountain Blade
Oh,
series.
you told me about that.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe you'd be into it, man. Just try it. Get Mountain Blade Warband. It's like you can buy it for mad cheap on Steam and just absorb it. Just absorb the stupidity of Mountain Blade Warband. Trust me.
Can I run like from two people and then fail and die?
But if it's not even running, you don't even know, bro. It's just
Not running, but shambling.
I mean,
in heavy
sort
armor.
of. Not really. I mean, the kind of, I guess. Mate, you don't know the joy until you roll up with like a group of 20 of you and you all just go into war. It's just good, man. It's good. It's good. It's jank as all hell, but it's good.
Jank as hell. Also in February, we got Shadow of the Colossus' remake,
Yeah.
which is in my backlog.
Yeah,
I
man.
completely forgot about this year. It's like PlayStation had 4 big games this year, and I completely forgot about Shadow of the Colossus. I looked in my PlayStation 4 library after finishing God of War, and I was like, not God of War. We just saying that word gets me a bit
Jesus
excited.
Christ.
We'll get to God of War. We'll get to God of War. I sounded a bit weird when I shook with excitement. But did you play Shadow of the Colossus remake?
No, it's weird because it didn't hit like I felt like it should have. You'd feel like a remake of Shadow of the Colossus would be a monumentally huge deal. And it wasn't a monumentally huge deal. Like it was almost like it was almost announced under the radar. They almost just sort of went about it without really much fanfare, which is weird because it's such a like Shadow of the Colossus the original is such a good game and such a landmark game that them making a remake of it like got less publicity than Spyro, got less publicity than Crash, got less publicity than a lot of other remakes that have come out. And it's kind of like I'm looking at the February games released right now, and like the Blob 2 remastered got about as much like hype around it as the Shadow of the Colossus one did, which is mad. But I didn't get around to it. I'm going to eventually because Shadow of the Colossus is an amazing game. But
I think a big reason of that is because this year people were mostly looking forward to God of War when it came to Sony exclusives, and they had Shadow of the Colossus in mind. Well, God of War as well as Spider-Man, and they had Shadow of the Colossus in mind, but it was like it's sort of overshadowed by some of the bigger releases. So people who would have played it later on, they probably forgot about it, and now they might be like me. I'm going, oh yeah, I have this in my library, and it wasn't even expensive. It was quite cheap, and I gotta visit it honestly. But from what I've heard, it's really good.
I just find it so weird that it didn't get such a huge deal wasn't made of it, because it wasn't even like it came out and did badly. Like the reviews were like mad good. It just was, man. I don't know. It's weird to me. It's weird because it got such good reviews and obviously like it comes like the game itself has such a synonymous name. Like everyone knows what Shadow of the Colossus
It's a critical
is. Like,
darling.
It's
like Okami.
I just find it weird that it wasn't a bigger deal. I just find it weird that it wasn't a bigger deal.
I also think a big part of that is because it's weird because the remaster of it came out just a few years ago. So I think a lot of people already revisited it. And they were like, it's nice having a remake, but I've already sort of revisited it not long ago.
Fair. That's fair. I didn't think about that.
But yeah, I think they just didn't market it that well. Or they could have marketed it better.
I'd say they didn't.
They marketed it well.
I don't know if they marketed it at all.
I remember remember seeing something.
I remember it
Definitely
had a
when you go
release
to the
trailer at
PlayStation
E3 or
store.
something, but apart from that, lost. But it's one of those things I need to go back to at some point because Shadow Colossus is amazing, and it's one of those things where if you haven't played it, like now you've got a remake on the consoles that are out right now. You've not really got an excuse, and like you say, it's not even that expensive. It's just Shadow Colossus is a great game. So
next up, we have Far Cry 5.
yeah,
Haven't played it yet.
Didn't touch it in terms of football.
I thought you would.
It's one of the ones I was more interested in.
I want to play it.
I was more interested in it than I have been a Far Cry game since 3.
Same.
But at the same time, it was really interesting. Apart from the fact it was a Far Cry game, which made me think, okay, well, can't have everything.
I think I will still get it, but like, it might not be this year.
Oh yeah, I'll probably get it when it's just mad cheap.
Yeah.
Because the thing is I do enjoy the Far Cry games, but it's just they are very much the same. It's a bit like what just came out, Just Cause. Just Cause games are all basically the same thing.
Yes.
Like, and it's enjoyable when you play
one.
it, but it really is exactly the same. Like, unless you're talking about Far Cry 2, then it's the same experience over and over again. So I'm not in the mood for like the Far Cry experience, but at some point I probably will be. And like the themes of it were more interesting to me than the actual game itself. So yeah.
It's that type of game where you look at it and you go, cool, I'll be playing this for at least 60 plus hours. And it's like, I'm going to be doing a lot of the same things over and over again. It's the Ubisoft formula. We were talking about this earlier with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which we will get into because we already had a quiet discussion about
a little bit.
But I stopped it, so if you thought this. But it has that formula of we're just going to do a lot of padding. There's going to be a lot of good things in it, but there's going to be a lot of padding as well that, you know, you're going to go through and it will burn you out slightly each time. And then it will poison your view of the game a bit. But it's for good. They do it for a good reason in that they don't want you to get bored and they want you to go, oh hey look, there's something here, as soon as I turn around and go a few meters. But they need to learn restraint when it comes to how much things they put in, because I think this year has sort of taught me something when it comes to open world games, and in that there is actually a point where there is too much and you need to scale it back or at least make it denser, because we no longer look at gigantic maps and go, oh yeah, this is even bigger. We've passed the point of that being something that is really sought after as much. Like, I don't care if you have a gigantic map.
I went back and played San Andreas this year, and I remember as a kid, like, San Andreas, like, how big that map was insane. Dude, that map is tiny. Do you want to talk about how small that map is?
Yeah,
you can go from one end to the other in like 3 minutes max. Like, you can really get, like, if you go at it, especially if you're driving a train, you could just fly around the map as if it's nothing. Like,
it's tiny.
The idea of a map being big is no longer a selling point, because we're through the floodgates on that. They've burst. We have got to the stage where even games that don't need huge maps have huge maps. That's not an interest anymore. It's about what you do with.
Even in Red Dead 2, Rockstar, guys who are the kings of the genre, I sort of look at times, because there's I'm not going to spoil anything, but after a certain point in the game, the map gets bigger. I'm just going to say it does the Pokemon Silver and Gold thing.
Sure, yeah.
It's like the map gets even bigger. And the maps was already really big in the first place. And one of the things that annoyed me about Red Dead 2 is just going from place to place start to get a bit tiring.
Yeah.
You know, if I have to keep on going here and there again and there again, and it's like the map is so big and there's no easy fast travel, and I have to keep doing this each time, I'm gonna be bored for a large period of time. It's not as much padding in that scenario, it's more of just because you want to make it seem as realistic as possible, you want it to seem vast and open, but scale it back a bit.
Yeah.
Just a bit, not too much, just a bit, and I think you have the perfect size. And I think both Assassin's Creed as well as Red Dead 2 and probably Far Cry as well all have that same problem. I think that from here onwards, you guys need to scale it back a bit. Like, a good example was No Man's Sky. Procedural generation is great, it's phenomenal, but no one's ever gonna go and explore even 1% of that whole place.
Yeah, and I
So
think obviously
ultimately, it's
that's
sort of pointless
yeah, and it's the
in ways.
procedural generation aspect is what made that possible. But you're right, it's
Yeah,
like it's a selling point for No Man's Sky just because it is so vastly huge compared to anything else. But in general, it's like it's not like like the Assassin's Creed world would be a lot smaller, obviously, without the ships. But the bits in between the ships are just fighting other. Like if you're sailing from one place to the other, you're just fighting other ships, or you're just sailing in a straight line. Like there's nothing
yeah,
actually there. Like a smaller, denser world is much more interesting and a much more exciting than a huge thing
yeah.
with nothing in it. Depending on what you're going for, obviously. But like yeah, I agree. I much prefer like smaller, denser experiences than I do.
I think Rocksteady probably has done that the best recently with Arkham City and Arkham Knight, where it's like they understand how to properly put things, put enough things that are different enough in such an enclosed environment while still making you feel like, oh, this is vast.
Mm.
You know, I shouldn't constantly think about this is so vast, because after a while it's like, instead of me being excited about it, it's just I have to. It's a lot of things to go through. You know.
But as we all know, Arkham Asylum was the best one. Don't at me.
I think I like Arkham City or Night the most.
Yeah,
I love them all.
you're wrong, but yeah, it's Arkham. But
All right. Next up, we have. I'm just looking. I'm going through the list of this year. The really heavy hitters come later on.
late as they always do.
Yeah. Except for this year, honestly.
Well, like
my game of the year was early.
it's slowly changing to where there are more spread out. Like I remember when
Yeah.
I can't remember which Infamous it was, but one of the Infamouses landed in June, and I was like, Jesus Christ! But it was great because there was nothing else happening in June, so it's like I think it was Infamous. But that's what you want. I want more games spread out across the year, not just heavy loaded at the end. I know why they do it, and obviously market forces
Heavy
dictate that there's sort of Christmas and that. But give me a July game. Why not? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, give me a March or a February.
Do you know what I mean? Just give me a cheeky weird time.
Just a cheeky.
Do you know what I mean?
Speaking of which, this April we got God of War.
Go on, feel free.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this for so long.
I'm on the verge of muting you right now. I'm on the verge of muting. It's a lot of weird noises.
I turned into just a lump of spaghetti when I think of that game.
Shout out to
They do
Eminem.
so much right. Grandma spaghetti. that game is, I think this year, that's my game of the year because I love God of War 3 was my favorite PlayStation 3 game.
Mm-hmm.
Like just in terms of exclusives, God of War 3 was it. That game was so good. And the reasons why I love God of War 3 aren't the same reasons why I love God of War 4
Yeah.
at all. I love them both for completely different reasons. God of War 4 feels like this is a game that developers, not just gamers, but developers need to look at going forwards and go, we should learn from that.
Mm.
Because silently throughout a lot of releases like Last of Us, you know, with the whole father-daughter relationship in that, and the switch towards gamers are a bit older, so they want to emphasize the character that is not young anymore. So that's why you see more middle-aged main characters these days. You know, they sort of got that in the game, and they did it better than anybody else, in my opinion.
Mm.
So like already for the get-go, they sort of made the story interesting, and they did it about a character who we didn't really emphasize with at all in the previous games. Like Kratos used to be this raging guy who he's a dickhead. He's a legitimate arsehole. You don't like the guy, but you like playing as him because it's fun, and you like to kick Zeus in the face or punch him repeatedly. But they managed to humanize a character that very much was just machismo as fuck, and goes from like one mythology to another one and make it just feel seamless. It's not even a reboot; it's a sequel, and it fits. They managed to make
It's sort of both.
character.
Almost. It's sort of got elements of a reboot to it.
It has the whole soft reboot aspect, but everything that happened before still happened before, and it works as a great sequel too.
Yeah.
Not, I can't think of any other property that's done that as well as God of War.
Mm.
Not only that, but God of War has never been a hub-based game or an open world game, and they made it open world, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
And in terms of interesting, unique things they've done, nobody has ever had just one camera in the game that they use, and no other ones are needed. There are no cuts in the cutscenes. You follow, like if you've seen Birdman or a fight scene in Creed 1, you could see that idea of just seamless camera angles, no cuts.
That
nothing.
one episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
They take that to complete heart, and it's like they get people in who understand directing, and no, like the fact they can make everything look so cinematic, while also making the camera never a problem when you're in the middle of action combat it's an achievement to behold. They managed to make a character who's a child character and someone who is always with you, not annoying but extremely likable. And the graphics are unbelievable. They have just enough content in that game so it doesn't feel bloated, but it feels satisfying when you finish with it. The difficulty is just right. It's not easy, it's not hard, it's just right. And it has Valkyries that teach you about boss fight mechanics, and then they keep adding new mechanics, and the final one has all the mechanics, and it's just down to you to learn it. Well, use what you've learned to beat it. And it feels like if you started video gaming, you know, I want to say in the 90s or the 80s or even the early 2000s, where you're used to learning as you play games and appreciating what you're playing and then even replaying it at times. It's like God of War is for everybody that loves that, as well as everybody who loves video games and art.
Yeah.
Also, they didn't worry about, there wasn't all these freaking editions of the game. There was just the game, and it's all in there. It's a masterpiece. I love God of War 4.
Yeah, I think it does. It treads that line. And this is obviously without playing it yet. But it seems to tread that line of being both not a God of War and a God of War game. Because I think the easy answer would have been just to make something very similar to the last ones, for the sake of it, but just using the Norse gods as opposed to whatever you want to call them. And I think that
The Greek.
yeah. But what they did is they actually took they made it more adult in a way. They took the things that they needed to take to keep that sort of like to keep that crest, that sort of through line to say, yeah, this is also a God of War game. But the fact they just called it God of War and not God of War 4 like shows that they're saying this is something that's slightly new. It's not the exact same thing, but it still feels like that. And I think it did it very well in the same way that I think Assassin's Creed did it very well, in that again, we can have that conversation of whether it's an Assassin's Creed game or not, but I think it takes the necessary things and then makes something new, something fresh with it. And that's something you know what I'm like, I'm all about just get rid of, listen, I don't care about what happened before. I want something new and I want it now. And I think it did a great job of that. It did a great job of that. And again, deserves all the praise that you and anyone else will give it, because, you know, it's a big deal, man.
What I find even more impressive about it is that going into this year, one game was pegged as Game of the Year. There was one game everybody looked at and was like, this is going to be the Game of the Year. Red Dead 2. Everyone was like, Red Dead 2 is going to be the Game of the Year.
Hez 19.
That for you. But, and it still probably is going to be Game of the Year. But God of War was such a phenomenal showing in so many fronts that you could look at it in Red Dead 2 and struggle to say what's your Game of the Year. The fact that someone could go up to Rockstar and do that is like, I don't think of any other game that can do that has come out recently. Like, I know you love Last of Us a lot, but do you think Last of Us could stand up to Red Dead 1 if they came out in the same year?
Yeah,
for example.
Probably.
You do?
Yeah, I think I would put Last of Us up there as one of the best of all time. But it's very close. That's the thing, is what you're saying is it would be surprising for that. I think Naughty Dog is slightly better than Santa Monica Studios, but I would say that. If you're asking me on a straight fight who wins in that fight, I'm saying Last of Us is better than Red Dead. But but that's like, you know, which hand am I going to cut off? They're both useful.
Well, it really does, like, this. I loved Red Dead 2 to death, but it sort of showed me something, and that's that other developers are catching up to Rockstar. Like, the time that Rockstar has had with GTA 5, where they've just been focusing on that, other developers are getting better and better. They're meeting and matching the goals that Rockstar normally sort of exceeds, and then some. The other devs, it still does do that, but it's like you have guys like Santa Monica, you have guys like Naughty Dog, even Nintendo. When it comes to some of the things they do with Breath of the Wild, it's like these are all innovative. These are all things that I don't think Rockstar would have done as well. You know, Rockstar did a phenomenal story with Red Dead 2. I won't spoil any stories or anything for you because I know you haven't played it yet. But there are a lot of things now that I could say this dev does better than Rockstar. This dev does better than Rockstar. This dev does better than Rockstar. And this year had it multiple times. It wasn't just God of War either. And we'll get into that later on. Okay, what's your next game? We're in April and June right now. I'm going off the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, like, so again, it's one of those years where I just haven't played a lot of things that I knew. Like, I've played a hell of a lot of old games, but it's just new games I didn't really fully get until the end of the year, where I've like played several in succession. So when you're talking about like the games from earlier in the year, there are a lot of big games I just haven't played yet, like God of War. Like, there's smaller things as well that I just haven't got around to. Like, Runner 3 is a game that I love. I love the Runner series. I love bit trip games, but I just haven't got around to playing them yet. It's been a weird year in that sense, where I've spent a lot of the time when those games were out playing San Andreas, playing like, and decide.
Did you play through it again?
Huh?
Did you play through the whole of San Andreas?
All of
again?
it. All of it.
Really?
All of it. And it is better than Vice City. No one can fight me on that. It's just better. Everyone goes on about Vice City. You're wrong. San Andreas is better. But it's like.
Wait, weren't you the opposite before?
No.
Like, you like Vice City more?
No, I've always been. No, San Andreas all the way.
I love them both. I really do.
Vice City's just clunky. But there's a lot of there's a lot of games that came out early in the year that I want to get around to eventually, but I just haven't. Like, the only new game that I sort of played around those times was like I played Laser League, which I loved. I thought Laser League was great, which was the multiplayer like sports game, I guess. But it's like you're killing people. I don't know. I showed you a trailer of it. It's really cool. If you haven't looked into Laser League, you should have a look into Laser League because it's real fun. But
I think I've heard of Laser League. Yeah,
it's the one. It was made by the people who did Ollie Ollie.
I loved Ollie Ollie.
Yeah, same people. Same people.
Did you manage to play Hellblade? That's something I want to get around to. You know the ones that Ninja Theory did, where it was like,
send you a
can we make a
sacrifice.
AAA game on an indie budget?
Yeah.
Did you play it?
Not yet. Not yet. And I think that was late last year as well, maybe. I think.
It shows Xbox One here, so it was probably late last year for the other ones.
But again, it's just one of those things I just haven't got around to, and I don't know why I haven't got around to so many of them. My brain's just been distracted by bush strats and pairs and wrestling.
So would you say that in your older, I struggle to say older age, but do you think you're more passionate now about like retrying older games, or like things that you've already played to see how they hold up these days, than constantly wanting to see what's new?
I think I'm more interested in playing older games than I was, but at the same time, like, just give me something new. I don't know. I think I always want something new just because I'm so like, I find a lot of the way like the industry works very tiresome, and like the constant need to like follow the same trends and the constant need to like everyone all of a sudden started to make open world games a couple of years ago, and I'm like, none of these need to be open world. I don't need them to be open world. But like everyone went that way, and all of a sudden we had like the Division and the Crew and flipping all of that like trash.
Yeah, games as a service.
And I just like, I get so bored with that sort of stuff, and I think for the last like 2 years or so, there's been like I've played through older games just because I find them the way they work more interesting than the way the newer ones work, because the newer ones tend to just be games of service, open world games where you and 3 of your friends go to try and beat the raid boss. Like I care, like I just don't care about any of that stuff. But yeah, at the same time, like it's why something like Assassin's Creed caught me so much, and why I am desperate to play God of War eventually, is because they've actually done something different from the norm. They've gone to a different way that would have been obvious for whoever made it at the time.
So then, would you say that
PES is the best game? Yeah, I would. PES is the best game. Which
so, like, I sort of come at it from a different space to me. Like, I know you get really tired of those things, but I never had those things in mind in the first place. Like, when I see a Destiny or I see a Division or whatever, I know exactly what those things are. I just completely, even Fortnite, I just sort of go, eh. I tend to instead look at things like Yakuza or Dragon Quest or Assassin's Creed and go, cool, I'm gonna sink like 60 hours into it.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna sleep for a while and move on. Then I'll do something else. So, do you think that it might be time for you to try a different way of, like, try out different games rather than just going back to the old ones?
I despise franchises with a passion. I wouldn't. I like Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time. If they didn't make a Last of Us 2, I would be actively happy. Unfortunately, it's happening. But like if no game ever got a sequel, I would be happy. I just find it like, I don't know. It's part of the reason why when Odyssey came out, Mario Odyssey, as opposed to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I was like, okay, cool, sweet. If I want that experience, I'll just go play Sunshine, man, which is the best one. Again, don't at me. Like I don't need the same thing again and again. And then although Mario is a unique thing because of the way Nintendo do mechanics and like the way they build their games is very different to how a lot of other people do it, especially Western studios, I just find it like, I don't know. Like, even if they didn't never made another PES, I wouldn't be mad about it. That's a lie.
So
that's a lie. I'd want to, I'd want to destroy myself. But to an extent, yeah. It's not even. It's just. It's sequel fatigue. I don't need more of the same thing. It's like I see. It's across other things as well. It's not just games. It's like the Marvel cinematic universe to me is the most boring thing in the world. I don't need it, bro. Like, I'm fine just have, like, the Star Wars, everyone's like, oh my god, Star Wars Episode 7. I'm like, oh, the one-shots, though. That's what I'm interested in. Give me something that has no connection to anything else. And unfortunately, every one they keep doing is connected to everything else because they can't help themselves, and that's what everyone wants. But, like, for me, it's just boring. I would rather have something completely new. Like, the things I think about that I've loved most in games over the last however many years are the ones that have been completely new. Like, you even...
I've sort of felt that way about Fantastic Beasts. Like, I really love the first one. The second one, they tried to tie everything.
Sure, yeah.
I'm like, I get what you mean, though. Completely. On that note, there is one new game that came out that's not part of a franchise, and that's Detroit Become Human. Have you played that?
No.
I played through that.
Did you?
Yeah. I think David Cage games get a lot of shit. We've been over this. I think they get way too much shit for like what they are. Detroit Become Human feels like Heavy Rain. Like, when Heavy Rain came out, I got a PS3 like a year before that. So it came out and I never really played a game like that before. Where it's like, people always say it's like an interactive movie. It is. But it has all these different endings you could achieve. If one character dies, they're dead. You play a different character. You know, the graphics are really nice, and you know, it's fun to play. Yeah, the story could do with some work. There are plot holes here and there, but I think people shit on his games way too much.
It's because it's easy to shit on. That's why, innit?
Yeah, and I think Detroit Become Human was great. Like the previous game, Beyond Two Souls, but this was a really fun game. Like, yeah, imagery is quite simple. It's like, hey, look, he's Malcolm X and Martin Luther King roll up in one. He's an android, and his name is Marcus, a bit like Marcus Garvey, and minorities are a bit like robots and they're treated like we get it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's really heavy-handed, but it's just fun to play them. I just whenever they come out every few years, it's like, oh, cool, let's sit down and enjoy this for a while, and it's generally a fun experience. And it's nice to see graphics pushed to the peak again and again and again each time they come out.
Yeah, of course. And I think I would, as many problems as I have with the way he writes stuff, and like you say, oh look, the robots are like minorities and that, bro, just make a game about minorities, it's fine. But like, he's one of those people who at least is trying to do something different, and I really appreciate how, despite I really love Heavy Rain, like it really like, and I even enjoy. I think the story's a bit mad, but even then, I still really enjoy it, and I would quite happily go back and play it today. It is in my library. I just haven't been bothered to do it. But like, I really enjoy that game, and I'm happy there's someone actually trying to do something slightly different with the format of video games. Despite the fact it is a bit too close to films for my liking, I still appreciate that he and Sony have given him the funding to actually go and do something different like that. Even though like people, it's just easy. It's just an easy target because it's like my man rolls up and says the word emotions a lot, and then like it's all very melodramatic and whatever. But it's like sometimes it's something different. I would much rather there be 20 David Cage insane games than 20 The Divisions, which has nothing interesting at all. So
they have glowing rucksacks, and that's interesting.
There's only one type of sack I like, and it's not that rock sack, I'll tell you that much.
Is it a juicy one?
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. But yeah.
Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy came out on Windows, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One.
It did.
As well. But it came out last year, didn't it?
It did, yeah. PS4 came out last year.
But Spyro is what came out this year.
Yes.
Spyro.
So I haven't played it yet, but because I long and short of it is I'm gonna get it for my birthday, which is very soon. So I'm waiting for then, and that's when I'm gonna get it.
Wait, you're December boy?
Yeah, I'm a December boy. But it's I'm just happy. I'm just a happy person right now. It's like this is where it comes in. Is it's like I want new mechanics, but then you just lob Spyro Remastered, and I'm like, yeah. Like I'm a total hypocrite in that sense. Total and utter
So would you
hypocrite.
say that you put out the spiel of I want something new, but then deep down it's like just give me
more of what I like specifically, please. Don't cater to general audience, not interested. Give me what I want. Give me the Crash Team Racing remaster now, please. That's all I need in my life. Yeah, but I'm really happy to see that game come out and do well, both critically and commercially. And I think actually it's been interesting to see a lot of people. I think Crash is a very divisive game, and that's totally fair, because I think the early ones, one specifically as well, which is just that's a game. They're early 3D platformers, and they have all of the trappings of an early 3D platformer. And although they have remade it, it is still an early 3D platformer at heart, and has problems because of that. So I understand why people think 50-50 on those games, but I genuinely think Spyro, 1 specifically, and then the other ones as well. 2 is my least favorite, which is against the grain. Everyone thinks 2 is the best one, but I would personally say it goes 1, 3, 2. But those games I think actually do really work, and those games are still very good, despite the fact that they don't feel old. They still work mechanically, and I've been interested to see a lot of people who didn't play it originally or weren't fans of it originally go back and go, oh, actually this is good, this is actually very good. And it makes me happy to see them succeed, because I'm a big fan of like children's games, because I think they're just more kind and light-hearted, and I'm sort of into that, like especially in the last generation where it was like Gears of War and stuff like that. It's just like, oh, I don't need like grey army soldiers being angry at each other like that much. And I enjoyed Gears of War, but like I don't need more of it. So I'm happy to see something that is something like that come out and do so well, both critically and commercially, because I think if that opens up the door to see more games like that, then I'd be very happy. And also, I'm a big, like, one of my favorite genres is just collectathons, and so to see any of them succeed is a hunt thing for me. But yeah, so I haven't played it yet. I need to. It looks very good. I probably will have some very nitpicky, over fan points about it. Oh my god, why have they changed the way he moves slightly? It's probably going to be real annoying for everyone else involved. But you know, Spyro, innit?
Strangely enough, as a kid, I could never get into Spyro or Crash. Spyro used to do this annoying thing where he used to glide and then he would just nosedive.
Sure.
Like, and as a kid, I used to hate that. I used to look at it and go, "You have wings. What the fuck?" I used to get real mad. But like, I was a Sonic kid and a Rayman kid.
Yeah.
So that probably explains it for me. But yeah, I'm happy that guys who wrote this get this. It's sort of coming off the back end of Ratchet and Clank getting the whole remake thing. I could sort of, and I think was it Sly Cooper that got one too?
Yeah, Sly Cooper got a remake and then also got a fourth game, a brand new one. You have Ratchet and Clank got the remakes, Jak and Daxter got the remakes. You could even make an argument that it goes back as far as Rayman Origins, that coming out and being like reviving a franchise. You could almost make the argument it goes as far back as that, really.
I could see them doing that same thing for Jak and Daxter. That one is overdue.
Yeah, like they did the HD collection. But if they were to do something similar, and I mean, again, there's like Last of Us started off as a Jak and Daxter game. Like originally in development, it started off as a Jak and Daxter game. So clearly, there's people inside Sony or Naughty Dog who think that it's worth doing another Jak and Daxter game, or like that franchise still has worth to it. So it'd be interesting. I hope we get like a new Ratchet out of all of those. Like, I hope we see a new Ratchet and Clank game, because the one that came out, which was a film tie-in, was so much better than the film and was so good that I feel like.
But the film made people not want to pick up because the film apparently wasn't.
Oh, the film was trash, bro. I went to watch the film in the cinema the day it came out. It was me, my friend, and literally no one else in the screen. There literally was not. This was the day it released. And it was me, him, and not a single other person. It was fine, but it was just a bit, But if
I do like the humor in it.
But the game was really good. It had some problems, but like the core of it was.
I had that game. I just never really got through it.
Fair.
To be honest with you, a lot of those 3D platformers like Spyro and Crash were the PS1 gen, Sly Cooper, Ratchet, Jak and Daxter, they're all the PS2 gen. For whatever reason, as a kid, I just missed those. Like I just didn't play any of those. I played a bit of Jak and Daxter, and I think that's probably the one that I enjoyed the most out of all of them. But it's nice to see a lot of people get these. Next up, we have Sonic Mania Plus. No, which is alright. It's an alright game. Yakuza Zero Windows? No, that's my game of the year last year. What is next? Spider-Man. Spider-Man was in September.
Spider-Man was great. I actually platinumed it.
Spider-Man.
It's one of two games I've loved so much this year I've bothered to sit down and platinum. Spider-Man was amazing. Spider-Man for me didn't do anything particularly brand new, but what it did so exceptionally well that it just blew me away. It was great.
Spider-Man sort of represents to me. I saw when it comes to comic book adaptations, I saw there are certain tent poles that I could look at and go, this is something that changed everything. You know, I could look at Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and go, this is something that changed everything. Yeah. You know, when that came out, a lot of people were like, oh shit, we could have like comic book characters interacting with video game characters, and it could be one of the greatest games of all time. You know, then the original Spider-Man movie came out, and people were like, oh, these actually work. Let's get more of these. And Iron Man 1 came out, and it's like, yeah, we can have it like this. Let's go ahead with this. And then Arkham came out, and the same thing happened. Yeah. Spider-Man represents the next one of those. And I think the Into Spider-Verse movie that's coming out as well also represents that. Where instead of them just banking on the name of a character, they go, how do we fully realize this character in this particular
Mm-hmm.
medium. And they don't just do that by going, well, he does this in the movie, so he needs to do this and that. No, they go, how can we make people feel like Spider-Man? The same way that when Rocksteady approached Batman, they were like, how can we make somebody feel like they were Batman?
Mm.
And they took a lot of notes from Rocksteady. They took a lot of the whole, hey, there are a few puzzles here and there that you can do. We have an open world, but it's not too big. And the combat system is extremely kinetic.
Yeah.
But they did things differently enough that I don't just play it and go, this is just Arkham. I play it and go, this is perhaps the game that has the best sense of traversal I've ever experienced.
And not only that, when I'm playing it and I do see something that is, say, from Arkham, I don't think to myself, oh, that's from Arkham. I think, I'm really glad they took that from Arkham and made it their own. Because, like, that game, like you say, the combat system is very similar to Arkham, to Assassin's Creed 2, to all of these games that came out before it. But it twists it and makes it its own separate thing, and makes it its own unique thing for the property, for the game, and is much, much better for it.
It's unbelievable. And then when it comes to stuff like, they have so many costumes in it that you can just unlock. There's no DLC for it. Just unlock these. They're fun. They had a lot of fun putting these costumes into the game. It's the type of thing I used to love about Marvel Ultimate Alliance all those years ago as a kid, playing this and going, hey, they have all these costumes and they're just in there and you can unlock them. And just in general, having the most heartfelt Spider-Man story I've seen in a very long time.
It's the most I've ever cared about Spider-Man.
Really?
I typically, and that's the thing with me, is typically I'm not that into Spider-Man. I enjoy him as a character, but as someone who is arachnophobic, Spider-Man, no, I'm good, thanks. But like, usually I enjoy the character, but like the world surrounding it, I'm a bit like, fine, okay, whatever. But this one, like, caught me, man. And like, the end caught me more than it should have.
That ending was good. The ending
end caught me way more than it should have.
It felt like the developers of this just really wanted to make a fun Spider-Man game, just like the developers of Arkham just really wanted to make a fun Arkham game. And it's like, it's sort of in the same place for me that the Castlevania Netflix cartoon is, where it's like, the developers of this cartoon, like, they just want to make a very good adaptation of this video game they love, and just give me more of that. When it goes to adaptations, just give me more of that. I completely agree with you when you were talking about the MCU and how, fucking hell. But like, the few times you do get something where you can see the creators care a lot and they want the consumer to appreciate what they love as much as they do, it always comes across as gold. Always. And Spider-Man is the latest example of that for me. And is just like Monster Hunter World, is a game that could have won Game of the Year.
It's so good. It's so good.
If Red Dead and God of War won this year, but this was any other year, this would have probably won Game of the Year. And I think that's probably a testament to just how good this year was.
I agree. And like you say, like, it does the small things right to make it feel like a Spider-Man game. Like, the movement is the one thing everyone always talks about in every single Spider-Man game that ever comes out. The traversal has to be good. And this blows any other Spider-Man game out of the water. Like, it feels so completely perfect. And the more stuff you unlock and the more stuff you get better at it, you can move around the world even more interestingly, even more fun, even more quickly. Like, everything is about, like, it just works brilliantly. It's utterly brilliant.
It reminded me a lot of Infamous Second Son in that way. Before Spider-Man, Infamous Second Son felt like the game that has the funnest traversal for me, where it just felt like I like moving around in this game. I think it's an evolution of the Super Mario 64 type of idea of how do we make moving around in the 3D environment fun. It feels like they've finally sort of taken a new step in that direction with games like Spider-Man.
And that's why when the rumors of it existing originally came out, people were saying that it was being made by Sucker Punch. was because it made sense. Because Infamous was the one where you had the best superhero traversal in any game. So the Infamous Second Son was the best superhero traversal in any game for a long, long time, arguably since Spider-Man 2. And so for them, it made sense, but it didn't. It was Insomniac, and they absolutely killed it. And you can see the parallels between it and Sunset Overdrive. But it's just so good, and I've never. I don't think I've played. Sorry, I don't think I've played. The ending of that game is so good. Like, sometimes when you play a game and an end is so good, you just go, "Well, that was the greatest thing I've ever played." Like, I remember the end of BioShock Infinite was very similar. How like I just went, "Oh my god, this was just." That's it. That's the one. There it is. It's just there. And then like with BioShock Infinite, I like think it through and I go, actually, I didn't like this. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Spider-Man is one of those very, very, very rare examples where that happened, and then I thought back and go, no, it's actually just really, really freaking good, isn't it? No, it's just really good. It's just unstoppably good. You can't. It's just is.
You think that because you have soccer pipes who are really good at traversal, and was it Visceral? No, it's not Visceral. That's
Dead Space.
Yeah, who was behind Spider-Man again?
Insomniac.
Yeah, Insomniac. You think because they're not both Sony first party, but Insomniac is almost like the first party for Sony. Do you think there was a lot of cross-contamination when it came to the employees from Sucker Punch in Insomniac? Because I think there probably was.
Maybe.
Like, I think the way the Sony probably pitched the idea, I'm not sure who pitched it to who, but Sony probably, whoever did, they probably used Infamous Second Son as a test bed, and it was like, what people liked about this is a traversal. It's a bit short, the game's pretty good, but the core concept is the fact that it's fun to move around. And Sony owns the license for Spider-Man, and you think they just went perfect fit?
Maybe. I mean, I think there's some very big parallels to be drawn between it and Sunset Overdrive. In that Sunset Overdrive again is really fun to traverse. It has that. A lot of people compared it to Tony Hawk's in that just going through the world is fun. Like you traverse through the world in interesting ways, and I think that's a really interesting test bed to just lob at someone. Go, what? Like look at Sunset Overdrive and then imagine you're Spider-Man. Like so you take out like the stuff that's like IP specific, like the stupid monsters and the like wacky like whoa like radical dude that Sunset Overdrive had and put it in a Spider-Man world, and I think it makes perfect sense because the way again you see it in little bits after you've played both of those games. You can see it little bits in like animations and the way that you move slightly off one thing to another. It's all very natural, so it makes perfect sense. It's a great game. It's a really great game.
Would you say it's a game of the year?
I was literally just thinking that it's between that or Assassin's Creed, which I just it's one of those two for me.
And you haven't played Red Dead 2 yet?
No, that's the thing. or Spyro, more importantly in my life. I have played a lot of PES. I have to think about it a bit more. Come back to me.
Alright. Next up, we have Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I haven't gotten this yet.
I haven't yet. I want to, but I haven't got around to it.
The weird thing with this game is that you know how you said earlier about sequels and you're just bored of them? Games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I think, what perpetuate that idea. I think it's because we have so many sequels where it's like, it's not too different from the previous one. It just adds a bit on. It's a bit more the same. Because we have like 80 to 90% of all sequels are basically that. And it's rare when we get a game like God of War, which is like, it's completely different. It feels like with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's just more of that. Like, when they first rebooted the series back in 2000, was it 8 now?
No,
9?
Way after that. Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about
the remake, the reboot?
Yeah, I'm saying it was. I'm saying it was 2000 and.
It's been a while ago.
I'm saying 2013.
13.
That's,
No, that would mean that would be the same year that PS4 came out. It was some time before that. I think it was after I finished secondary school.
it was
2011.
maybe. I'll look it up. Carry on. I'll look it up while we do.
But yeah, when that came out, a lot of people were going, "Hey, this is interesting." They're taking the Uncharted formula and applying it to Tomb Raider while also doing different things, and it was interesting to see them trying to focus on the story a bit more, making it more vulnerable. And it was a good game. It was a really fun game. They had some Metroidvania elements in it. They didn't have too much puzzle elements yet. When did it come out?
2013.
Really?
Yes.
That was the end of gen
Don't
game.
test my knowledge, fam. March 2013. Sorry, carry on.
But yeah, people really did like Tomb Raider when it came out, and then the sequel came out, and that was really good too. But Microsoft was dumb, and they released it the same day as Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And decided to steal make an exclusivity deal, and Square Enix basically tanked the game because of that. But it was still a very good game. But again, it was just a bit more of the same.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really make me care more about the character like Naughty Dog does with their characters. We've gone over this. And this one sort of feels like more of that again, where again they're saying she will totally be the Tomb Raider this time, and I'm like, but wasn't she after the first game? And how come I don't know much about? I still don't care about the character. I'm only really interested in it because I do enjoy the Metroidvania aspects. I do enjoy the puzzles.
Yeah, I enjoy the gameplay, but you're right. I think it's one of those things where I'm interested in it because I want to see where it goes, because I do like the property in general. I think I've always enjoyed those games. I even enjoy now going back and playing the originals, despite how horrendously clunky they are. I think
controls are
I
terrible.
think they work despite the controls. I think the controls sort of are part of it.
They were so bad.
No, they are bad. I agree. They don't flow. There's no flow to them whatsoever.
They're really bad.
They don't flow whatsoever. But I think it works still, despite that. But it is more of the same. There are like ever so slight evolutions in what this one is compared to the last one, but I don't know. It's something that's interesting. I want to go back and play it. It's not something I was ever going to buy like day one because of that, because it is so similar. And it's a shame it got bungled in the way it did, because they had an opportunity to make something really big with it, but they sort of consistently flopped a little bit on their delivery of it.
They fuck up that badly with the second game's release. I'm still shocked by it. It's nonsensical to do that. It's really stupid. Oh Jesus! Like Kingdom Hearts 3 is doing a similar thing. It's releasing the same day as Resident Evil 2 remake in Japan.
I mean, I think that's more of a problem for Resident Evil 2 than it is. I think that's more of a problem for Resident Evil 2 than it is for Kingdom Hearts 3. But yeah.
No, I think that's more of a problem for Kingdom Hearts 3. I think more people care about Resident Evil 2.
Zero chance on that.
Dude, Charlie, I understand where you're coming from. Like, we grew up in an era where it's like everybody and their mom liked Kingdom Hearts 3. But it's like, how many people still care as much?
Yeah, but think about it, because there's all the people who still care, and then there's all the people who have never cared, but they're like, oh, this game's got like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck in it and all that stuff. Oh my god, bro, it's going to be a big deal.
I'm not saying it won't be. Honestly, even there, I sort of look at it and I see Square Enix making a big deal about it, but there doesn't seem to be as much buzz as there should be.
I think it's because no one believes it's coming out yet.
Compared to
like someone said to me, oh, it's coming out this year. And I was like, there's zero chance of it coming out this year. I'm telling you that now to reduce your hopes, because it's not going to happen.
Honestly, I think there's more hype for Resident Evil 2. I think there's way more for Resident Evil 2 than
I think you
speak
3. To me too often. I think that's what the problem is there.
No. Because it's like you have the people who played Resident Evil 7 and are like, oh shit, these are good again. All right. And then you have people who've been waiting for Resident Evil 2 remake since like very late 90s.
Potentially.